So that's that. How we all doing, Twitch chat? How y'all doing? Glad to be here and looking forward to this match. As I said, FreeZe versus Usual Guys. This is two European teams. The tweet I have coming out in 2 minutes says 2 teams, 2 rebirths, and only one is going to be successful today. FreeZe is the team we haven't seen play in a while. Usual Guys coming in with like a Brian Sendo team plus 2 players that you've probably heard of that haven't really been around for a while or been kind of silent. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see it. A lot of people have varying takes on how this one is going to go, and you are one of those people, Nine.
Oh, you say a lot of people. Let's be frank here. I think I'm one of the few people who thinks the Usual Guys actually have a chance in this. Myself and the members of the Usual Guys. But I'll say this, the reason that I picked them. If it's a best of 3, I take FreeZe in a heartbeat. If it's a best of 5, I take FreeZe in 2 heartbeats. If it's a best of 7, I take them in 3 heartbeats. But a best of 9, with the map set ahead of time, Sendo's a thinker. Sendo has always been a thinker. He has always been an advocate for making very specific comps on the right maps, and I'm hoping that over the course of the best of 9, they might be able to strategize their way through, or maybe armor plus aggression wins once again, as was the case yesterday.
Yeah, so, you know, as you mentioned, a lot of people are, like, counting on the ability of Usual Guys to put together these compositions that are going to get them those small advantages over the course of the game. I honestly think there's still going to be a little bit more of like a skill and mechanics difference between these 2 teams, because if you look at historically the players on FreeZe, and FreeZe is a roster you've heard of in some form or fashion before, right? You've got Noctis, you've got Free, you've got Creamy, I believe changed their name to Mika, or maybe that wasn't the one that changed their name. I forget. These players are sometimes enigmas. They've been around for a long time. I actually am on the low end. I have I believe I have it as 5-2 in favor of FreeZe, because I'm banking on the fact that these players have almost consistently always been better than the players on Usual Guys. Yeah. So come at me, but based on what I saw yesterday too, like player diff sometimes plays into it.
5-2. You put the yesterday's set at 5-1. You think that today's set is going to be comparable to yesterday's set based on your projections?
I think it'll be slightly closer. I was not expecting it to be as much of a wash as yesterday's set. Yesterday's set was pull out the brooms, everybody. Pull out your 9 sweepers, because that was a sweep. I'm expecting this one to be much closer, and you know, I don't expect that a lot of games are going to be knockouts. What I am expecting is I'm expecting in the clutch moments when it matters, FreeZe is going to come out on top in a lot of these games. So I mean, again, should be closer. That's also why I said that the last one was 5-1 and this one is 5-2. So give me a little bit of slack.
Okay, 1 game worth of slack. Okay.
Yeah, one game worth of slack. Sure, 1 game worth of difference. Sure. So for those of you that are just joining us, of course, the Transatlantic Splatoon League is a league featuring 5 of the best teams in North America and 5 of the best teams in Europe. They go off in 6 weeks of league play, featuring a round-robin group stage where they face all of the other teams within their own region. The top 2 teams advance to move on to playoffs that will be held in early December. We're bringing all that action. You can follow all of the action for the league at TASL_SPL on Twitter. I've been trying to put out a lot of content there to keep you all in the loop, to have one centralized location where you can follow all of these happenings, because we'll be bouncing around between different people's streams. I'm sure Ninja had the set yesterday, I had the set today, Nine will probably get a set at some point or another. So just be following that account for all of the updates. We're gonna try to give you all the scheduling information for these matches as soon as we possibly have them, and as soon as we can get all of those details solidified. In terms of the actual matches themselves, they are best of 9 sets. That is 9 games. It's not on this screen, but it'll be on the in-game screen. So plenty of Splatoon to come our way as we move on forward. And the map list selection here is actually pretty interesting. Nine, I don't believe I actually sent this to you in like the full detail of how it's going to work. So I'm going to pull it up now.
I appreciate you not totally hanging me out to dry then.
That's more so like my own
thing. To make a transition, and I was like, time
nope.
to lie, baby.
No,
time to lie.
I'm not going to do that to you. Come on, I'm smarter than that. at least I kind of pay a little bit of attention to the information instead of Matt over here, who just was like, I have no idea what's actually happening. But for these best of 9 sets, games 1, 4, and 7 are TO picked lock maps. Games 2, 5, and 6, or games 2, 5, and 8, sorry, are the teams with a higher seed in the division picks, and games 3, 6, and 9 are where the lower seed picks. So technically, the higher seed in this is FreeZe, and the lower seed is Usual Guys. I'm going to try out as many of the graphics as possible to keep that consistent over the course of the league. So you can always expect the higher seeded team to be on the top and the lower seeded team to be on the bottom, no matter of what actually takes place in terms of the league. But each team is going to have 3 maps that they get to pick on from their own pool. So we'll have that map list momentarily. There isn't going to be a map list screen because that is a lot of effort to make look pretty and have all the pictures there. But the players are currently in the process of getting that underway. So we should have that map list for you shortly and be able to comment on. The TO selected maps for week 1 are Tower Control Manta Maria for game 1, Clamblitz Inkblot Art Academy for game 4, and Splat Zones on the Reef for game 7. So, nice. Any thoughts about anything I just said there, Nine? Because I just rambled for a bit, which I tend to do.
There was a lot of information to cover. And, I hit on this earlier, the idea of having the maps picked earlier, giving the teams a little bit more time to prepare. I know that since this is still very early on in the process, the teams might not have gotten these in early. But theoretically, they could have 24 to 48 hours to plan what they're going to be playing on these maps and modes that have already been selected. 3 of which, of course, they get to choose, but 3 of which are the opponent's side, too. And actually, Matt, Ninja, in the chat, had a pretty good tweet a couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, or maybe even today, I lose track of time, about how map pools need to be revisited, because as time has gone on, the map list, I think, has become pretty homogenized, because, let's be frank, there's a way that North America and Europe likes to play. It's get your armor, go fight, and if it's a map where that doesn't necessarily work, we tend to scoff at it. So right. I like the idea of putting together a format like this that gives teams the opportunities to not only pick it, but to prepare for what their opponent comes up with. So in that respect, I really like it. And I think that it does have some bearing, especially over the course of 9 games.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see how all that comes in to play. I am in the process of actually compiling the map list because they just went through their map selection process, and so I'm gonna actually put it by game numbers and I'm gonna send it to you. So 9, talk about whatever you want to for a little bit of time while I get the rest of this sorted out.
Sure. I'm gonna do what I'm best at and throw my co-commentator under the bus. So actually, Ninja, another fun thing. This morning, Kbot was trying to come up with a nice viral tweet similar to the one that you posted, looking at your girlfriend, but he couldn't come up with anything. He struggled for probably a good 30 seconds with it, and then opted to go with making fun of Great Britain and then later on all of Europe. So that's how DP's reached into the hat this morning. Just let it be known that you are a trailblazer in your own right. Also, I've been breaking my golden rule, and I have Twitch chat open. Thank everybody for the compliments on the hair. Probably not going to get it cut for a while, so get used to this David Grohl look. I'm hoping to eventually go from David Grohl to Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so we'll get there eventually. But
9, what is it with you and the music references today?
I wasn't aware that this was... I thought that this was just a matter of... I don't know. Are musical references that strange? I feel like that's pretty
they're
universal.
fine, but every single reference you've made today has been some band or some song or something to that degree.
Okay, so for reference, everybody, I saw a tweet earlier that said that Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory turns 20. It's 20 years old now. Is that a reference? I thought everybody had listened to Hybrid Theory at least once, and then the Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, that album, which has 3 good songs, but they're really good songs, turned 25. Everybody, I am aging. I'm aging at an alarming rate of speed, and that is what those tweets taught me this morning.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, map list has been set in the meantime, and we are going to be seeing a approximate boatload of Splat Zones today. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 games slated are Splat Zones. That said, a lot of them are towards the end of that set. But a lot of Splat Zones, so hope you all like Splat Zones, as we are going to be hopping into this in a bit. First map, though, is going to be tower control on Manta Maria. Nine, we saw this go in knockout fashion yesterday. Is that going to be the case again today?
Well, we would certainly hope not. And I think I'm really interested to see what Brian goes here today because, you know, you've talked about how Brian has been flexing around a little bit, and of course he's a very, very talented player. We've seen him go between the chargers in pretty much every Splatling. And I feel like if either of our two British commentators were here, they would tell you how Kaji has single-handedly won games on this map mode. And, you know, it does bear repeating, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on Brian here. But all I can say is that I hope this goes a little closer than last time, unless it's 5-0 in favor of usual, guys, in which case I'd happily take that from the prediction standpoint.
You're taking that for the predictions, yeah. So for those of you that don't know, by the way, I'm having the talent do predictions, or like the core talent do predictions, and we also have a way for you to get involved. So every week there are going to be Twitter polls that get put up on the TASL Twitter. If you want in, go ahead and vote. And every vote counts because the end score that you guys actually get put on your little column is actually drawn from the proportion of votes that come out at the end. So, for example, if it's between 50 and 60%, it's a 5-4, 60 and 70 is a 5-3. But enough of any of that. It's time to actually get into some Splatoon. Tower Control, Manta Maria. Here we go, everybody. FreeZe versus Usual Guys for the Transatlantic Splatoon League European Division, week number 1. We'll see what we see here.
Take a look, and it is going to be a Grim Range Blaster coming out of Sendo here. Okay, never mind. I'm already regretting my choice here. It's already game 1, and I already regret it. But no, this is interesting. This is a weapon that I think can still get it done on tower control, and certainly if you can use some of the more space-heavy comps here to make the Grim's job a little bit easier, if you can protect it, I think it can still get the job done, but not easy to do, and actually Sendo's already done. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy to do when you're looking at the composition of the other side, and this is a FreeZe lineup that I was looking at earlier today when they were playing in a Japanese league tournament, and this is pretty much what we were expecting. They have those short-range shooters that are going to be able to move on the map and paint around quite a bit, and then Xerath is going to be on the back lines, locking things down on that charge. You see now riding the tower, and they're already past the first checkpoint, just continuing to build up more momentum.
More momentum, and the opponent didn't even have time to build up any specials here, and that's going to be the real thing that puts them down. It's a second wipe, a splashdown lands, so you know that everything is going against them at this point. But again, not only did they get staggered, they got staggered in the first 15-20 seconds. There's not going to be any specials coming here. FreeZe's going to get 2 or 3 easy picks, and at this point, I almost would let the timer run out here and just go straight to the next game.
Next. Yeah, that might be what we're looking at there. A couple more are going to go down. Very little paint control there. For that other side, and I just realized that the team scores are actually wrong, so I'm going to need to change them around. It is going to be Usual Guys losing that one. I'll edit the scoreboard here in a moment, but another 100-0 knockout on Tower Control Manta Maria 9.
Oh, please don't look at that scorecard on the bottom. Oh, gosh. That's a lot of eggs. That's all I'm going to say. There were a lot of goose eggs on that there at the bottom. Whew. Okay, well, it's now an 8-game set. And, okay, well, now I see why they want to go splat zones. Makes a lot more sense now. There's not even anything that you can say about that. Like, when you get staggered in the center, and they just... When the opponent is willing to move up into those positions and really attack you, even as you're trying to build up special, there's not really any chance for you to regain your footing or build any momentum, much less a defense. So it's textbook. It's brutal, but it's textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to do the little scuffed production thing here. Good enough. That is what you guys are going to have to deal with because I did not tell the players that they should be in a certain order. So, that's that. Next map, though, as previously mentioned, is going to be Splat Zones on Wahoo World. The other unfortunate news, though, is that we are experiencing a little bit of a lockout situation there that FreeZe was able to set up, and there was no real response coming in from the Usual Guys in order to really respond there. And Wahoo World can also be one of those things where if you have all of your bases covered here around the zone, it's going to be very easy for them to be able to lock out.
It is. It's going to be easy. I will say that Sendo does have a few different weapons he can play, and it is indeed going to be the Tent Umbrella and an Explosher as well. This is a weapon that I've seen get a little bit more love, so how's this? 3 different buckets and Umbrella. Not something that you see from too many teams.
I will say this is a look that I was kind of expecting out of the usual guys. Otru loves the Kensa machine, Wadsum loves the Tri-Slosher, and it's no surprise to see Brian on the Explosion either. So not exactly a surprise. The only problem here is going to be in terms of that pain control. If they get in a situation where they can continue locking things out, they'll look good, but they might actually have found that here early, as it's already a 3-down situation. They're already taking care of business just fine.
Yeah, looking great for them here. And now who is going to go and try to hunt down Brian? This is probably the biggest role, because you're not going to be able to trade paint on the zone against an Explosher. They're going to try to set up on this left side, as we so often see, and push in from here. But you know now that Sendo's going to be waiting here, probably sharking down below. And I like the usage here of both of these. The Stingray getting some targets out there so the Inkjet could go and fire. And they did find Brian in the middle of all of that. What a nice take back, and done from a very safe position, too.
Nice tag pack, and again, this is something that we were kind of expecting here, coming out of FreeZe, right? With their ability to paint, it's probably going to be just generally easier for them to break back into the zone when it matters most. We'll see, though, how long they can hold on to it, as their longest range threat is going to be Xera's here, and Xera's can only do so much against things like a Tent Umbrella. So as that starts to come on in here, and as the usual guys start to build up a little bit more momentum, we'll see the armor pop in the response from FreeZe, and it looks like, though, they're going to be able to take a lead unless the E comes on the zone here very quickly, and D, the baller comes on, and that is going to be the cap on over to the usual guys, taking care of business. 2-down situation, though. 2-down for both sides. Sendo's actually going to fall off here, and is going to have to walk all the way back around to try to get back and apply some more pressure onto this zone. Very neutral so far in this game. This is kind of the match that we were looking for here, Nine.
It is, and they were able to get another person back on the other side there. It's Watson, actually, and I believe Ultra actually took care of that 1v1 there. Not an easy thing to do against a T-Tech, but I think, again, they've just been able to slow the game down here, and that's one of the things that, of course, we know about Splat Zones as a whole, but certainly on this map, when you have a weapon that can stall like the Tent Umbrella. And it is the Sorella Tenta we should mention as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That Sorella Tent Umbrella is just going to be able to put out so much effort, but it's not going to be able to put out so much when it is down. It's going to be Noctis cleaning up shop there for FreeZe, and now they're going to continue seeing this lockout look. The best threat that Noctis has right now from this position is those fizzy bombs. Just trying to continue to apply some pressure to make sure that no one is actually falling down off of that plat. However, all the meanwhile, it's going to give enough time here for the usual guys to charge up specials, but actually, Incomer's just going to come online here as FreeZe starts to be a little bit more aggressive in their defense. They are going to be able to take care of the lead, and the timers have reset for the usual guys to push back into the zone.
And it's going to need to be a very quick action here. You can see that the Explosher has gotten into position, and actually Watson was able to sneak through. I'm not sure how he got through to make that attack, but they've actually gotten 2 down. Watson continuing to move up in a very nice fashion here. And actually, this was much cleaner than I expected. So often when you see takebacks here, you have to pay a little bit in order to get in, maybe with somebody going down or with a couple specials. But that time it seemed like very low commitment, and maybe because of that low commitment, they weren't able to make a full takeback there. Credit the members of FreeZe with understanding that they had plenty of time to give up the zone as long as they didn't all go down.
And that's the thing, it's all about playing around your game state, right? If you're the team that's in the lead, you can be a little bit more flexible, you can be a little bit more calm, cool, and collected, and now it's another 3-down situation for the usual guys. They're going to have one last opportunity to push back in here, and they might only have an Ink Armor to do so. Again, they don't have a lot of painting specials outside of maybe that Curling Bomb Tenta Brush, right? So we'll see if that comes on through for them as well. Watson going to try to get some work done here with the Ink Armor. There comes the Curling Bomb Launcher on that side, but it's not really applying much paint on the zone. Xera's holding some members back with that Stingray, but they're all going to find the complete wipe, and it's FreeZe that's going to take game 2.
And Watson really had an opportunity to open things up there, but you can see when you send a flank around one side, the work that it takes to get this zone, because it's such a big zone. They had the specials to force people to try to paint the zone, but Watson got there just a little bit late to take them out. You saw there were 2 people that were firing straight ahead. I don't know, again, if it's just the fact that the team is coming together here. Maybe at the end of the game, it's very difficult to coordinate, but there was an opportunity there. But again, it is FreeZe executing their game plan all the way through, and I'm feeling like my thin ice is getting thinner and thinner by the moment, Kbot. I'm gonna be honest.
It's getting there, Nine. Again, like, there's a lot of things that you look at this usual guys composition, and you're like, okay, things could work if they get set up, in these positions that they want to. there's a very real possibility that they're going to be able to stall things out for long enough. But at the end of the day, it is so much more difficult for them to break back in, given the fact that they have a handful of shorter range weapons, or even things like the Kansas Slashing Machine that are just harder to line up your shots, right? Harder to paint in front of you, harder to move forward and take back control of the zone. Which is why when we're looking at the rest of the Splat Zones matches in this set, we're really going to have to see if they can get creative to open up these windows of opportunity, or maybe they'll have to change up their compositions and playstyle. But things are looking a little grim for them at this stage of the game.
I see what you're saying. You're suggesting that Sindo should bring back out the Grim Range Blaster. I'm on the same wavelength. I am on the same wavelength. But you do bring up a good point, right? If a bucket gets away from you there, like let's say that in one situation Watson escapes from a firefight and he gets away. I don't feel like that's of the same magnitude as one of the shooters getting away. The shooter's going to build up its special quicker. It's going to be able to find a way back into the battle quicker. And it just seems like in every one of these situations, they really are relying having all of them available to see to a threat that FreeZe is coming up with. FreeZe doesn't have those same restrictions. They understand that if one person gets off by themselves, they build a special, they build an inkjet, boom, they can contribute again. Boom, they build an ink armor, they can still contribute. It's just a little bit more versatile right now. It looks like it's going to be 3 buckets once again, so clearly the usual guys doesn't think it's their comp.
Apparently not, and I will say a little bit of adaptation actually coming out on this specific map from FreeZe. We see Free going on over to that splash here coming on through, going to be able to apply a little bit more pressure onto the zone from a safer distance with that bomb launcher. It's going to be crucial here for FreeZe, especially as we're looking back in terms of these takebacks. And you're already starting to notice how flexible some of these and how mobile some of these short-range shooters can be in the composition for FreeZe, as they're starting to be a little bit more aggressive. And again, Brian can only do so much from afar with this Explosion.
Yeah, look at that. Somebody got taken out right where he was. That shot wasn't even meant for him, but I'm glad you bring that up. It just seems like even though the Explosh is, I say, maybe a more conventional backliner for moving around, it doesn't seem like he's able to contribute in the same way. Xeris is constantly pestering him from all these different positions. And, I mean, maybe that's just part of the game when you are opting to go with a comp that's not as mobile, but it doesn't seem like Brian's really able to get set up or comfortable at any point in this set.
So I think right now as I'm watching this, usual guys were distracted with one other member of FreeZe. Meanwhile, they weren't painting the zone, and now all of a sudden, we're down to the 30-tick mark on this zone timer for FreeZe, and now Free is just stepping on to their opponent's plat. 20 ticks of the timer left to go here, set up in a well-thought-out position. 2-down situation once more for the usual guys. They're not going to be able to get as much ink onto this zone from this distance. The hammer comes out from Sendo for one last-ditch effort. They're able to neutralize the zone. Splashdown coming on through. Will they cap? They finally find the cap. Just barely, but it is going to cost Sendo his squid life. Noctis going to splash down in the zone to neutralize back the other direction here. Is able to find that pick on to Wadsum, and with a 2-down situation, usual guys are probably not even going to be able to get a hold off of this contestation.
What beautiful spacing. I don't even blame Watson for rushing forward and trying to get that pick. Noctis just jumped back at the exact right distance to go ahead and outrange his bucket brethren, but man, you talk about desperation to put it together right there. I don't think they can rely on having that too many more times.
It certainly doesn't seem like it, but again, it's all going to matter on how things start to click together, and we really haven't seen any point in this game where the usual guys have been able to get a wipe on their opponents. FreeZe has just been so far able to be locked down rather easily. Of course, as I say that, there's the 3-down situation that the usual guys were finally looking for. You're welcome for the Caster's Curse, saving your predictions perhaps a little bit 9, as the usual guys are looking to try to build up a little bit more yellow ink in their area of the map.
And this is the part that we really haven't gotten to see. What happens when the usual guys get their lockout scenario going? You see that Sendo's gone off on the right to do Tentabrella things, Brian simply moving around and marking people. This is really where they could open up a big portion of it. If they melt off this armor, which it looks like they have, if they can outlast a couple more of these specials, they should be fine. But look at this, all 3 got through. They just ran right forward, and Sendo has to find a way to get back into the fight. How have they held the zone through all of this?
They've held the zone through all this for somehow. Sendo was able to find one before going down on the back lines, and now it's all of a sudden looking a little bit more plausible for you guys to come out on top. I say that, though, and now with the 3-down situation, what is with the Caster Curse so far from me? Brian is trying to paint this zone, but again, this Explosion can only do so much effort in terms of that when you're looking at 2 other short-range shooters on the other side. And it is going to be the cap going over to FreeZe, but wait, what in the world? That is going to be stepping on forward here for usual guys and taking back control of the zone, forcing out some of these members of FreeZe, and holding on for dear life right now as the usual guys in this game.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody's doing the top-down view, because I want to know how in the world they held that for as long as they did. It did not look like it was going to go through, but hey, credit them for showing they've still got some fight. Things are going to be a little rough right now, but at the very least, Sendo's going to be off on this left side here and is going to attract maybe a little bit of attention there. The real question now is what special do they need in order to break back in here? Watson's armor is going to be nice, but they don't exactly have a comp that can take advantage of the armor in the conventional sense, so I think they're really just going to try to stack people up and send them on one way, and so far, both the buckets are getting it done, at least for one.
Ochiro playing the sloshing machine so well, finding the splashdown, able to find that other pick there, and now a 2-down situation, again, plausible for the usual guys. They have their work cut out for them, and this very well might be one of the last opportunities for them to really make sure that everything clicks. They have a 30-second timer to work through, and they have to get down to 0 as a reminder. So, we'll see if they can hold on for this as we see the Fizzy Bomb pressure continuing to be applied. The Ink Armor, though, coming from the other direction, but perhaps a little bit too early from FreeZe, and perhaps a little bit miscoordinated. Free too far forward. Xera's isn't quite finding the picks here on this charger. That is going to be the K-Machine as well, going down for a FreeZe. Xera's, again, pressured so much on this other plat, and the usual guys just have all control of it that they could possibly want right now.
They are, but you saw something very important right there. You saw how they were all able to drop into the zone for free and start to paint it here. I know they went down, but if they apply one more of these penalties, that might be enough. As we get down to the end of this penalty, Sendo needs to retreat back to the fight. Everyone is going after the zone. He's going instead here. Do they have enough paint on the zone to hold it just a few seconds? And no, it does flip the other way.
Flips the other way. Ochiro trying to paint the zone for as much as possible. They can't find the cap. What is this overhead when it's going to zoom out? That is so close to finding the cap once more for usual guys, but they don't find it, and FreeZe takes another. They go up 3-0.
And I know even though once they got the big hold, usual guys really did have, I would say, pretty decent control of that map and just the match as a whole, but how often do we see it, Kbot? In splat zones, a team gets a huge lead and they understand, okay, well, we'll just flip it a few times, apply a couple penalties. Last 10 seconds, we'll take what we need and take our victory. So I understood the game plan there, but it just seemed like there was too much paint going on zone for free for the members of FreeZe, and eventually that is going to flip, no matter how much Explosher play you have.
Absolutely, and to your point, it's all going to be about capping that zone, right? As long as they cap the zone, as long as they continue applying penalties, it's going to be nearly impossible for the usual guys to work through in the 5-minute time span of that game. And so as long as they come in, even if it means they commit all their resources, commit the Ink Armor, you know, get the complete wipe on them, as long as they're capping the zone, forcing that penalty to be further and further extended, that's the important part. We're going to take a little bit of a break from splat zones, as now the next tournament organizer map comes on through Clan Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy, and perhaps this is something that the usual guys could see a little more success in.
Well, Clan Blitz makes me think yes. Inkblot Art Academy makes me think no. It's whose pick was this? This would be
this is TO pick.
Free.
This is neutral.
This is TO pick. Perfect. Okay, so all right, interesting there to note. Yeah, Sendo of course has been a very vocal proponent of Clan Blitz from the very beginning, but you couldn't ask for a better map if you are FreeZe. This should play to everything that you like to do. So honestly, I think this one could be a toss-up, but just like every other map or every other time you see this map, it steamrolls pretty quickly. So Sendo not going with the tent umbrella. All right, he's playing free, and Xeris is bringing out the Squiffer as well. This is a weapon that's gotten a lot of love recently.
Squiffer is able to be so mobile, and especially in a meta where we're starting to see the shift away from these traditional anchor picks. I mean, Xera's is really one of the only people right now that's playing the Charger, whereas the Squiffer could be just generally a little bit more mobile, and you already see with the early armor, it's a 2-down situation. It's going to mount in so much map control, clamp control, and mid control for FreeZe, and that mid control can quickly snowball into a push when you're talking about Inkblot Art Academy.
Yeah, and look at how far the members of Usual Guys are back here. Yes, they're all up, but I mean, are you really up if every one of you is still back way away from the fight? You can't always look at the top and see who's still alive, but that really has been the story of the set, right? How do the members of Usual Guys get in? It almost seems like they're waiting for FreeZe to run to them and trying to create openings. There, finally, Watson goes in, but he's by himself, and Ochiro wasn't able to come over here to respond quickly enough either. And another splashdown landing, so eating my words there, Ochiro is making some plays happening, but I feel like that entire sequence right there has really been the story of the set on a macro level.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. There's just seems nearly impossible for the usual guys to find their footing in order to get the paint necessary to push on forward, given their composition right now. I mean, again, we're looking at a blaster and 3 sloshers on this team right now. There is very little map control, and by that I mean it's pretty much almost instantly flipped back to FreeZe whenever they want it to be. We see Buffer playing a little bit more cautious here on this right side, making sure that the push doesn't come in. Good utilization of making sure that you know that your opponents are thinking about a push, especially in this given instance. Otru going to be able to pick up that on the end zap. With this double armor composition coming out of FreeZe, they're going to be able to be a little bit more of a nuisance to completely take down, but it's going to be rather easy if you keep getting solo picks like this.
I was going to say, all right, here's the new splat bets portion of this. What is going to be the higher number? Otru's landed splashdowns or usual guys' victories? Chat, let me hear it. Let me hear it. That's already 2 that have landed here. This is stunning.
Well, I think it's even more if you look at over the course of the set coming in from Otru. But again, that's like maybe the one source of the weakness here from FreeZe, right? If they don't know some of these splashdowns are coming, if they can't expect the patterns coming in from the usual guys, maybe that there's something that they can do. But again, they're not stepping forward. They're not being aggressive. They're just trying to get as much as possible. And we're already nearly halfway through this game 9 without a score on Inkblot clams.
It takes some doing to make a push on this map, but again, I think it's just indicative of, even if it has been a steady look one way as we finally do see our first score at the start of this, they're just, the members of usual guys just have to sit back here. They don't have the tools to move forward unless they all gang up together, but the members of FreeZe have the mobility. They can put a little bit of damage on you here. They can throw a bomb, chip damage your way through, and now you finally see 3 members have moved up into a position where they can really attack, but now they don't have all the clams that they need. They have to retreat back, and that small advantage they created for themselves has already gone away.
And it's going to be even more difficult for them to be able to find these picks from large. Well, wait a minute. How did Noctis get back there? Must have come up from the left side, but is able to get taken down with nice map awareness here. We'll see if the usual guys can, find an entry here. Otru, I like this positioning. Try to be a little bit more aggressive. Now going to splash down a bunch of claims to maintain this control, but you probably should have gone with a little bit more aggressive. Try to be a little bit more taking care of business on the opponent's plat. Now going to try to flank back around to punish this Inkjet, but is going to get punished in of himself. 2-down situation for you guys, and 2-down situation for FreeZe, but again, all benefiting FreeZe right now.
It is, and Sendo got the revenge there, but again, it's just too quick of a comp. They rotated over there, and the 2 trades go the other way, and it just seems like, again, Watson back here to try to open up something, but he's by himself. The best he could really hope for in that scenario is a trade. And again, there's just too many boxes that have to be checked off for any of these pushes to become anything serious for the usual guys.
Absolutely. It really does require a wipe, but they have a lot of weapons that just cannot find picks given on this map. I mean, their largest bet here is the Kansas Selection Machine and the Grim Range, but those aren't really getting supported with a ton of map control, as FreeZe is going to find another power clam in the basket. It's not really going to do much other than perhaps get a little bit of a scoring, a little bit of a lead extension, but I don't really think that it is really going to be that worth it here, as now we're looking at 2 power clams on this side. Zeras, though, pops the Inkjet. That was huge onto Brian right before the usual guys were able to step forward. Gets Sendo as well. They're going to go all down, map control switching back in favor of FreeZe, and things just suddenly got so much harder for the usual guys to make a push.
It did. Well, that could have been the lead right there. They still had the pity clam saved up, and they had Ochidu back there to grab it and jump to them. So talk about Xeris retreating all the way back, and that's right, that Swiffer variant does have Inkjet, and to get it in one shot, just a fantastic way to put an exclamation point on the end of this game. They do still have their pity clam, so all hope is not lost yet, but that was the best look they'd had all game.
I mean, at this point, they need a power claim. They have the power claim, so overtime will be forced here for a little bit of time. But again, Brian's going to need to step on forward, and now this Ink Armor is going to come out of FreeZe to try to lock things down. You'll notice the aggression starting to come out for them, but they haven't been able to actually find the picks here. Brian has to get closer to this barrier, but it doesn't even matter. 2 members of the usual guys are going to go down on the opposite side of the map. Brian goes down as well. That's the complete wipe, and that is the game. Usual guys are going down, and they're facing a set point FreeZe.
Already, man. You know, Kbot, when you talk like that, I feel like I'm out of breath too, which isn't how breathing that isn't how breathing works for those of you just joining us, but somehow it feels that way. And credit Ocho to some fantastic numbers there. Brian with 12 KA as well, but I mean, we're going back to the same stuff every game, Kbot. It's the same story. It seems like even when the usual guys are able to maintain control, with the comps they're running, the way that they're getting spread out, and the way that FreeZe is able to find the small openings and rush forward immediately off of them, it just seems like even when they are winning their fights, they're so far away from the objective and so far away from the crucial points on the map that it really doesn't end up even mattering.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it feels like over the context of this entire thing, right? And again, when we're looking at this composition, what's getting your instant painting, or what's getting your, what I like to call a little bit of burst painting on the map, right? There aren't very many weapons that can just say, this area of the map is mine now, like a NZAP can, like a Splattershot can to some degree, and there's no really way for a lot of these members to start getting creative on some of the picks we know them for. Sendu on the custom range blaster, Otru on the Kensa machine. I mean, they're doing the best they can, but they don't have the support and the utility coming in from the rest of the team in order to open up those windows of opportunity to actually get in, to make these plays starting to happen. And right now, Nine, here's the other set of bad news. Next 4 games are all splat zones.
Well, hey, it takes 2 to tango here, okay?
That's true.
Some of these
That
picks are the members of the usual guys, and, you know, to their credit, the Humpback game, which was their counter pick, was the best game they've played all set, right? No question there. Unfortunately, this is a far cry from Humpback Pump Track, and if we're ever going to see the Charger, nope, it's the Explosh. All right, Brian. Brian feeling confident with it here, and there's a Clash Blaster out. Oh, no, is this the victory lap?
But Sendu comes out with a Junior. Which is,
okay. Sendo's pick makes sense here. Somebody in chat, please tell me, is this a little BM from Noctis? I mean, I'm a little bit more of a fan of this weapon than I think a lot of people are, but, like, to bring it out under these circumstances, I wonder.
Well, you like the blaster, we get it. But that's the other thing is, I think, given the solid base of the FreeZe composition of these 2 short-range shots of the Charger, you can probably throw almost anything into the last pick in Noctis's hands, and he can probably make it work to some form or fashion here. And that's almost exactly what we're seeing with the almost immediate wipe onto the usual guys, and FreeZe maintaining their lockout position for the time being. See if they can find the picks coming on through. But no, Otru met with this Flash Blaster that's putting out so much pressure. Another one goes down thanks to the chip damage there as well, and things are starting to snowball in favor of FreeZe. I say that, 3-down situation, Sendo's on the zone, which is going to mean the zone cap maybe for usual guys. There it is.
Yeah, all it takes is a little bit more support, and you know the Junior is going to get it done. And I mean, you can see right there exactly why Noctis likes this weapon here, as I've been informed. Yeah, what do you do against the Clash in that situation? You don't. You leave, and you hope that you get away fast enough for the Clash before the Clash is able to close the deal off. But I mean, and now there's a whole other issue. How do they even challenge the Charger with this comp now? I mean, I get that Brian can go up and do that here, but Brian is just being attacked from all angles here on this, and all 4 in the zone. They're waiting to call out who goes up top. It looks like it's going to be Noctis. They identify somebody on that side. It was Brian. Now Brian has to retreat, and now we're back in the center, except for now we have more points. So it just seems like the cycle will rinse and repeat as long as they need to. They're under no pressure right now.
I mean, and there's so much that they're trying to do, right? You notice that every once in a while, one of these Exploshes does land on top of the zone. Actually, now, there's the cap that comes on through. It's going to force some of these more members away from FreeZe. Buff are forced to retreat back to their own courtyard, and so maybe perhaps a little bit of momentum here for the usual guys, but they really need to translate this into a large push here. They can't let FreeZe take it here, because, again, we're starting to get down to this area where if they just continue applying these penalties, it's going to be even more difficult for the usual guys to come back. We see the Ink Armor perhaps a little bit too preemptive. They're not going to have that Ink Armor for a little bit longer. Okay, never mind, I say that. They're running double armor, so they're just armored all of the time. That's fine too. But they're able to get enough ink on the zone. FreeZe is, and that's going to be enough to kind of take care of business. Splashdown this time does not land for Otru. It's a 3-down situation for the usual guys, and FreeZe is back in control.
Back in control, and it's such a great way of doing it too. Like you said, the patience there, waiting it out. And you know, the one thing about this map that's a little different from Humpback is you do have to expose yourself a little bit to get some paint on the zone. But that time they just waited. They had the right special there. And I'm not sure who the first pick on is. Watson gets taken down. Beautiful shot by Xerath. That's a rough angle to work from too, to clean that up. And that might be the shot in the arm that ends it. But I mean, it just seems like, again, too many boxes have to be checked before anything can happen. And one last Hail Mary attempt. Can they get to it?
No, because there was someone that stepped right in front of them on the side of FreeZe. We'll see if there's enough paint that comes on through from the buckets, and it does look to be the case to stall things out for a little while longer. The splashdown again gets taken out by Otru, but we'll have to see if you guys can actually convert this. I mean, again, look at how much of a scoreline they have to work through. That is plenty of time where the FreeZe composition can set up time, get their ink armors at the ready, get the rest of their specials at the ready to force some of these members away. And right now, the holds just have not been there so far in this set. I say that though, Watson comes up with one, now trying to be aggressive, is able to find a second onto Xerath, now going back into the courtyard, is getting zoned away, and is able to find the burst bomb onto Free. Watson with the triple, and might have been exactly what the usual guys needed.
And that was the first time that they had their armor and they had Watson in that position with his armor already up. That was the very first time that they had the person that they needed to in position to make that attack. Can they hold? Look at the positions they're stuck in here. Oh, they're coming!
Splashdown might land. That is going to be the lead. That might be the knockout. We'll have to see. The bombs are coming on through. 57 seconds left to go here in this game, but it all comes down to this. FreeZe does find the cap, able to shut things down. So 2 down for the usual guys right now. There's at least one more opportunity to FreeZe to respond with Rift's 5-0 yesterday. We'll see if they can do it here as they go for one more hold, or if the usual guys can find the paint on the zone. They've been more successful this game in order to find these caps 9. What is their key?
I think the key is maybe, I don't know if it's FreeZe just giving them a few more opportunities or if it hasn't been the same level of coordination, but they managed to find a way through. But I don't know if they're going to even get to the zone here as the fight's going on. Look at how far away from zone these fights are going. The splashdown does land, but it's not enough.
Not enough. Two-down situation right now. The junior is still alive, but it's not going to find the paint on zone. Ocho is trying to do the best they can, but it doesn't even matter. Usual guys are going to go down and FreeZe. Pull out your brooms, everyone. 5-0 for them as well today.
Well, okay, at least we got one of those. At least we got one of those games here. Man, what a heartbreaking way for it to go. If Ochanu's splashdown had landed on the left side of zone when they were originally in control and had almost taken that victory, it would have negated that entire bomb rush. But because they got stuck behind the left side, they had to rotate around to the right side and put it there instead. And those are the small margins. It is so difficult to win at this level because that is the one thing that can change. And it's not even a mistake. You had to go that way, and then this is where your splashdown was. But what a fantastic game there. What fantastic composure from FreeZe to not even give them a single game. 10 games up, 10 games down so far in TASL2.
10 games up, 10 games down. I mean, hey, in my mind, that's starting to set the stage for what we're going to see as the league progresses, right? It's going to be about some of these contenders, and we haven't even seen supposed #1 seed Radiance come on through for the European division so far. We've just seen FreeZe and Rift, so I think it's going to be very interesting. 3 teams that are looking potentially very strong, and only 2 are going to be able to qualify for the playoffs later in the season. Yeah. There's not much more else to say, guys, other than look at the score. The last game was fantastic, and I will say Ninja was also recording the overhead view. So for this game, we are going to have an overhead view, and all of that, including the VOD for this set, is going to go up on YouTube at some point. Again, you can stay tuned to the TASL Twitter at TASL_SPL for all of that information when those do finally come out. But the name of the game is FreeZe today. They go 5-0 over the usual guys. 9, any other closing remarks?
Just that thank you everybody for joining in on this, taking some time out of your weekend, and thank you for supporting this project. Believe me, it is not easy to get teams to commit to a league. I'm preaching to the choir on this one with you, Kbot, and also I know Dragonuto, very familiar with these struggles as well, but it makes it all the more important that when these top teams get together, we do watch, we do promote it, because this is what the game looks like at the highest level. So again, thank you for joining us today. Kbot, thank you for having me, and thank you to the players for putting on a great show.
Absolutely, everyone. Don't forget, there is plenty more matches to come. We are only in week 1, and 2 of the North American matches had to get rescheduled for this week. So, might even be a 5-week match next week. More updates on the schedule and everything you can find at TASL_SPL. For all of that, of course, that's been 9. My name has been Kbot, and we will see you all around. Take care, everyone, and have yourselves a good week.